Bro, I just got out of Plat 1.
Look away.
That shit is so difficult. Oh, good God. If you hard stuck in Plat 1, I'm sorry to tell, but that's a skill issue. Fam, Slayer's free elo until Vank.
Anything.
I won't call him free elo, but yeah, I mean, he's not the hardest character to rank up. I think there's way harder characters to play. But like, also, don't fucking shame someone for being stuck at a rank. Don't be that guy. I'm literally Plat 2, and I've been Plat 2 for like ever. I also just want to point out that if you hit platinum in this game, just in general, you're better already than like 20% or like 80% of the player base. That's true. It's better than 80% of the game population. Sadly, doesn't mean you're good. Okay, so this is just a weird mentality to have. Only in fighting games is being better than 80% of people that play the video game not a good thing. Like, think about what you just said. You're not good because you're at a higher elo and skill level than 80% of the people. Brother, you are good. You're perfectly fine at the game. In fact, you're better than above average at that point. We've already talked about this before, but like if you're at Vank or whatever, you're like less than 2% of the player population. Getting just to platinum and getting into the trenches already means you're pretty decent at the game. You're not going to win Evo or top 8 tournaments, but the majority of people playing a video game do not have that as a goal. They're just playing the game for fun. And to be quite honest, again, when you put things in perspective where you are better than 80% of the population at something, you're pretty fucking good at the game at that point. Because that means 80% of people that you play, if you were just to play every single person that plays Guilty Gear, only 20% of people are beating you. In what world does that not make you good at something where you are above the skill bracket of 80% of people doing it? That is such a weird thing to say. Like, I'm sorry. I don't agree with that at all. And like, to be fair, I am just a casual enjoyer. I go to tournaments every now and then. I've definitely slowed way down, but telling someone that they're not good at it when they're better than 80% of people doing the exact same thing, I'm sorry, that's stupid. Let people have fun. Stop trying to put somebody down because they're at a lower skill bracket than you. Like, what the fuck do you mean? I do not get why people get so like in this game in particular, because this is the game where like people just take Guilty Gear pretty seriously. And don't get me wrong, I fucking love Guilty Gear. I love the community around Guilty Gear. It's awesome. But like, I have YouTube comments of people being like, hey, you didn't do that optimally. I don't give a fuck. Why are we taking a video game that seriously? Unless this is like your goal to be that good at the game, or like you're gonna go to majors and stuff like that. That's awesome. Do that. But bro, again, telling somebody that they aren't good at a game where they are better than 80% of people playing the game, you sound like an idiot. I'm sorry, because if I was like, hey, I'm like top 20% of mechanics in the world, you're gonna want to bring your car to me, right? You'll trust that number. You're not gonna say that guy's a bad mechanic. What? Think about what you just said. If you're playing rock, paper, scissors and 80% of people are playing scissors and you play rock, that doesn't mean that you're good at rock, paper, scissors. Yes, it does. Again, you are thinking about this in the wrong way. I'm sorry. You are actually thinking about this in the wrong way because you're like, if they're only throwing scissors, then blah. That's not what you're representing here. I'm saying you take the entire population of people that play rock, paper, scissors, and you are better than 80% of people doing it. Does not matter what their strategy is, right? We're saying you will be 80% of people that play you in rock, paper, scissors. You're pretty much guaranteed to win all the time. You should put money on yourself. That means you are guaranteed to win more than half, more than 3/4 of the time. You lose, or you lose less than 25% of the time. Are you kidding me? You don't think that makes you good at something? Do you know how ridiculous you sound? That's so weird. If you're only playing people that are just throwing scissors and you can just throw a rock every single time, sure, that's not nearly as impressive, but that still means you're better than 80% of people. But that's talking about the strategy behind it. And you are going to get people that just want to throw scissors instead of anything else, and all you have to do is throw a rock. That's going to represent a certain percentage of the population of people doing something at the lower skill level, sure. But again, as you climb higher, people are going to come up with different strategies. A better example would be the chess example. If you're at like the 20th percentile, you probably are considered high elo. Above average at something, I think that's okay to say you're kind of good at it. All right. I don't think anyone should be shaming you or saying you're bad. Plat is where people throw only scissors, especially in Plat 1. Yeah, but again, you're kind of like dumbing it down too much. Like there are only 3 moves you can do in the game. Again, that's why I said the chess example is better. But being better than people doesn't mean you're good. Winning isn't relative to skill. And if it did top 8 every tournament, most likely the same. Again, you're definitely looking at this the wrong way. Because I'm saying of the whole population, you beat 80% of them. Like 80% of the time you're going to win. That's crazy to say that you're not good or that's not good. That's why that is such a fucking crazy argument. Because I'm sorry, if you're literally in a bracket where you're like at a skill level where you are beating 80% of people, or at least are better than 80% of people, you're going to be considered good at the thing, like in everything else. But apparently that just no longer applies when it's like fighting games. Bro, get the fuck out of here. My opinion as a Vank 1400 player, again, you're in like the 2%. Like less than 2% of people playing the game. So your perspective is going to be incredibly skewed on what is defined as good. But again, overall, if you are better than 80% of people at something, you're good at the thing. Because you're going to beat literally 80% of people doing the thing. You know what I mean? Of course, when you're representing less than 2% of people playing the video game, it does make it feel like people are not as good at that low under you. I'm not arguing against that. But I am saying, being like, you're not good when you're at 80%, bro, you're fine enough to play the game. But I'm still not good. Yeah, you have a weird perspective of things. For real. You just have a weird perspective on things. And that's fine. Continue to do so. But like, why are you shaming somebody for being at that, like, point or getting weird about it is what I'm saying. No one will ever be good. Wrap it up, gang. Yeah, I'm sorry. If we're not good when we represent less than 2% of a population on something, I don't even know where the cutoff is at that point. When do we start getting good at the game? And honestly, saying that I'm not good when you represent 2% of the population, that's just imposter syndrome, which is okay to have. Like a lot of people who are like top level at stuff are going to be like, I'm not very good at the thing. That's a very common thing. I think we're going to be looking at something like quote unquote exceptional or other fancy words when we're going to 1 or 2% of the population, right? That's what I'm saying, guys. Overall, if you're better than something or better than 80% of people at something, you can get away with saying you're good. And being like, no, you're not. I'm not good when I'm at a 2% elo. Like, again, that's kind of like on you, but like, don't impose that on other people. Like, Jesus. The truth is before Vanquisher. All right, get this fucking clown out of here. What? I'm not gonna lie. I get what they're trying to say, where like, until you get to Vanquisher, you don't really know how to play the game. At a very high level of trying to go to like top 8s at like major tournaments and things like that. Yes. Probably once you start getting into the 2% population is when you start figuring out how to hang in that world. But again, I think the majority of people watching this channel, the majority of people who watch fighting games, the majority of people who play fighting games are not going to be doing that. So using that specific population as the example is wrong because that represents such a small portion of people that are not doing, like, they don't play fighting games to go to tournaments. They play that the same way you play Call of Duty. This is the leisurely activity for them. This is what I meant by like your perception on it is skewed because you're looking at it at the lens of like top players who, I'm just saying the fact that you can name the majority of high level Guilty Gear players really shows you how small of that population there is. The fact that you can probably name almost all of them, like if we were to list out every single competitive Guilty Gear player that we can think of, that's how small that population is. That's maybe like 1% of people, less than that actually. When it comes to tournament play, that is representing such a small minority, I should say, of people. The majority of people who go to tournaments do not represent the whole of people that play fighting games, people that play video games in general. Like, we're not even just addressing this as like fighting games. In video games in general, if you are into esports, you are so high up that ladder, so high that you are quite literally the minority. And so much so because the majority of people playing video games are doing this for a leisurely activity. To say that you don't know how to play the game until you hit like the top 2% elo is crazy because you're skewing that in the way that only represents or like over represents, should I say, the people that are literally the best at the game that have figured it out, solve the game even. And like, okay, that's fine, right? In that regard, you are right. The majority of people that play Guilty Gear do not know how to actually play Guilty Gear. If you look at it from the perspective of a tournament rounder, somebody that is going to majors and consistently hitting top 8s or whatever, you are 100% correct. The game does not start until you hit Vanquisher. I am not denying that. But to say that that should be the representation of how good you are at a video game based solely on that small percentage of people, that's fucking stupid. Like, say that out loud. Skill does not matter until you've hit 2% of people playing the game, until you are one of those few thousands of people versus like the hundreds of thousands that play the game or whatever. It's so weird. It's so weird to say, because again, the majority of us watching the streams or watching my videos or whatever, you aren't going to tournaments, and that's okay. You don't have to go to tournaments to enjoy fighting games. Let me just put that one out there. To enjoy a thing does not require you to compete at it, but to say that that's like the goal or like that's the goalpost is fucking weird, dude. Tournaments are not only about time, but it's skill in the game. It's also performance, nervousness. Yeah, no. So tournaments are also like a really bad thing because like they're very random, right? There's a lot of factors in that you can't control. I mean, it's still just the best representation of who's the best at this game, because that's like the closest to controllable factors that you can get. And like the people that are regular tournament goers that are doing like esports, by the way, not just like your local, I mean esport rounders, like people that are like competitive Guilty Gear players, those people. And to basically say that like the game doesn't start until you are one of them is kind of crazy for most people, because the majority of us at home might go to locals every now and then. You are so far not in that population of people, and that's okay. That like to say that those people control like the example or basically the control group of who's good at the game or not is fucking crazy to say. That skill isn't worth a pile of rotten beans, because if you don't have fun in the process, a lot of people don't. They bust their heads so much. It's almost like athletes crush their health. I agree. So I'm going to admit that I am just a huge casual enjoyer of fighting games. I love playing them. Again, I sometimes go to locals or online tournaments or whatever whenever I have the availability to do so. I like fighting games as a casual enjoyer. I don't really compete in them because it doesn't really give me a whole lot of like enjoyment to be on that side of things. It's fun, don't get me wrong, but it's not the end goal. I don't care if I hit Vank or whatever in this game. Literally, this title is Road to Diamond because I'm just like, hey, I'm just hitting buttons and having fun online. I'm mostly just here to hang out with you guys, right? If I can be entertaining in Plat, I'm happy. As long as I can just like make some funny content or whatever, like I'm good. That's the most out of fighting games that I really care about. I'm already happy that I'm above average at this video game. Anything else is just basically a cherry on top. And that's like the majority of people that play video games, any video game, by the way, are just doing that. You are just doing a leisurely activity. And to say that, you know, out of all the people playing, you are not good until you are higher than a population that represents less than 2% of people that are doing the same thing is fucking crazy. Because again, if I were to say I am like top 20% of anything else, like I use being a mechanic as an example, but like, let's just say doctors. I'm like one of the top 20% of doctors in the entire world. You're going to want to go to that fucking doctor. You know what I mean? You're not going to say they're a bad doctor. You're going to say they're great at it. And yes, you are right. For everyone that is saying that skill is not important as much as enjoying it, it depends on what your goal with the thing is. Now, again, if I wanted to be a professional like Guilty Gear player and like go to majors, get sponsored by a team or whatever, yeah, it would matter a lot how good I am at the game. But it depends on what your goal is. Now, if your goal is just to like, again, play online casually, you know, for a couple hours a day, you're good at the game at that point. For what you're trying to do, you are good. Now, if you are someone, again, who's trying to get into esports, you probably do want to be in that top 2% because that means you are even better than the majority of people playing the game. You're at a much higher competitive level. You're at the skill where you need to be at. But it all depends on like the goals. That's it. I guess that's really the heart of the argument, is it depends on what your goal is when you should probably start saying you're good. Because if you're just like, hey, I'm a casual player, yeah, you're good if you hit Plat. You're good because you just literally climbed higher than most people will ever get to. People who are actually low level and can't even do a quarter circle are in shambles right now. People definitely forgot about what low and mid level actually look like as they get higher. That's what I'm saying. Your perspective is so skewed at that point when you're using the top level players as your example of when something is good. People quite literally cannot do motion inputs. They don't understand hold back to block. Like, you were forgetting about that. Those are real players who really do play this game. That's what I'm saying, guys. Like, you gotta take a step back. You know, when you're trying to put things into perspective, you do have to take a step back and think about it. Depending on your goal, good is a relative term, right? But like, it entirely depends on what your goal is, or like what the end game is for you. At a casual level, getting plat, you can say you're good at the game. You definitely probably don't want to overstate your skill and say, yeah, I'm so fucking sick at this game, I'm gonna be the next Daigo. Like, no, you're not there yet. Let's be honest, you're not. But again, at like a casual level, dude, you're gonna hop online and you're gonna win more games than you lose. I think everyone can agree that would make you good at the game. It's like saying, unless you're in the NBA, you don't know how to play basketball yet. Exactly. What are you gonna say, that like an amateur boxer who just won the Olympics isn't good at boxing because they're not a heavyweight champion or whatever? What kind of fucking question is that? Like, why are we arguing about that? My friend called me cracked at fighting games just because one of them is impossible to replicate what I'm doing, and in reality, I'm just all right. Yeah, well, I mean, listen, you can still say you're good in that population. If you're the best one out of your friend groups, you are classified as good at the game. Like, good is a relative term, but it definitely depends on, like, again, the end game that you're trying to go after, and also, I suppose, now to include the population that's available to you. And when you look at every single person who plays Guilty Gear, when you hit plat, you are technically considered good at the game for just playing casually. That's why I was saying it's such a weird argument for that person to have. Because like, what are we arguing about here? That you're not Vank or whatever, and like you shouldn't be considered good at the game until you've hit Vanquisher? Why? Why is that the bar we're setting? If you really want to just be general about it, being better than like 50% of people, technically once you're at like gold, you're like slightly above average Guilty Gear player. That's what I'm saying. Like, guys, we really gotta get some perspective on the whole thing. You know what I mean? There's a whole world of people out there.